Welcome back to Geometry Classroom. Today we'll talk about ratios and proportions. In this lesson, we'll define both ratios and proportions and learn how to use them and how to solve them. Yeah? First, ratios. Ratio is a comparison of two quantities using a quotient or a fraction, right? The word two separates the numerator and denominator. How we express a ratio, saying, for example, the ratio of 12 to 17 translates to 12 over 17. In other words, the number or the quantity that is before word 2 is on the numerator of the fraction. And the quantity that comes after 2 goes in the bottom, is the denominator of the fraction. So, ways to represent a ratio, we can say, for example, A to B or A to dots B, or you simply say A over B. Yeah? Because there are fractions, ratios are fractions, any fraction can be simplified or reduced to its simplest form. Good. Next. We also have extended ratios. The extended ratios compares three or more quantities. We denote or express an extended ratio using this symbol. For example, A to B to C. Good. Let's have a few examples with ratios. For example, a bin at a hardware store contains 120 washers and 85 bolts. Write the ratio of washers to bolts in simplest form, right? So the ratio of washers to bolts means the number of washers, right, over the number of bolts. Remember, the numbers or the quantity that is before word 2 is on top, and the quantity after word 2 is in the bottom. So we're going to have, as we can see, 120 over 85. Yeah? Because it's a fraction, we simplify if we can. But in this case, we can simplify. Now, if you look carefully here, the common factor for 120 and 85 would be 5. Yeah? So, if we divide 120 by 5, you get 24. If you divide 5 by 85, you get 17. So, that's the simplified form of this ratio. Yeah? So, we cannot find any other common factor to simplify the resulting fraction. Good. Another example. One molecule of glucose contains 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms. What is the ratio of hydrogen atoms to the total number of atoms in the molecule? So, remember, we have to write a fraction. On top would be the number of hydrogen atoms, right? On top, which is 12, yeah? So, on top would be 12. Now, in the bottom should be the total number of atoms in the molecule. So how we find the total number of molecules, of atoms in the molecule? By simply adding the number of atoms of each type. So you have 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms. We simply add them. 6 plus 6 equals 12, plus 12 equals 24. So our ratio of hydrogen atoms to the total number of atoms would be 12 over 24. And we simplify. So if we simplify this fraction, you're going to get 1/2. Why? Because the common factor, the largest common factor of 12 and 24 is 12 itself. If you divide 12 by 12, you get 1. If you divide 24 by 12, you get 2. Good. Now, let's talk about proportions. So, don't forget, a ratio is a fraction of 2 quantities or more quantities. Yeah? Remember, we have also extended ratios. Now, a proportion. What is a proportion? A proportion is an equation that states 2 ratios are equal. A proportion is written as an equality of 2 fractions. So, in order to see better, I'll rewrite for you this proportion. A over B equals C over D. Good. A proportion is solved by using cross product method or property. What is this about? So, cross product means we multiply numbers diagonally. Yeah? So, in other words, we multiply A by D and B by C. So, in other words, we multiply the numerator of the first fraction by the denominator of the second fraction, the second ratio, and then we multiply the denominator of the first fraction or ratio by the numerator of the second ratio. So, at the end, you're going to have A times D equals B times C. And then we solve for the unknown. Let's have a few problems with ratios and proportion. Now, for example, consider this, let's say, proportion. 3 over 5 equals x over 8. Good. Now, these are the main steps we should follow to solve a proportion. First, we calculate the cross product. First step. So, what is the cross product? We multiply numbers diagonally. So, we multiply 3 by 8, yeah, and you get 3 times 8. Then equals, and then we multiply the other 2 numbers, 5 times x. Next step, we set the cross product equal to each other, as we did here, right? And the third step is solve the equation. How we solve for equation? We get rid of 5, because solving for x means getting x alone. So, we divide by 5, both sides, and we get 3 times 8 equals 24 over 5 equals x. Or, if we apply the symmetric property of equality, we can say x equals 24 over 5. Yep. We can leave the answer as a fraction, or we can simply estimate the fraction, yeah, by dividing 24 by 5. But is not our main concern in this lesson. Good. Now, let's have a few practice problems with proportions. For example, we have this proportion. Remember, what is the first step? We multiply diagonally. Yeah? So we set up the cross product. So we multiply 9 by 10. Yeah? Then 6 by x, and make this cross product equal. Next, we solve for x. How we solve for x? By getting rid of 6. How? By dividing by 6 both sides. Good. So you're going to have 90 divided by 6. 6 and 6 on the right side cancel out. What's left? X. Or we can say x equals 90 over 6. If we divide 90 by 6, you're going to get 15. In other words, x equals 15. Another example is 7 over n equals 8 over 7. We do the same. We cross multiply. We multiply 7 by 7. Yeah? And then 8 by n. And make those cross products equal. Then we solve for n. This time the variable is not x anymore, but n. So we get rid of 8 by dividing by 8 both sides. Yeah? So you're going to get 7 times 7 equals 49 over 8 equals 8 and 8 cancel out, divide out, equals n. Or n equals 49 over 8. So this time we cannot simplify this fraction because there is no common factor. If you like, you can divide them and estimate, approximate the quotient. Good. Let's have 2 more examples. Yes. This proportion is solved in a similar way. Yeah. First, we cross multiply 5 by 9 and 6 by 7, 9 plus 7. So we write 5 times 9 and then 6 times. So this time, in order to multiply these two expressions, you have to use a parenthesis, right? So we open a parenthesis and write inside the parenthesis 7n plus 9. And close the parenthesis. What's next? We make these two cross products equal. Then we start solving for n. But before solving for n, we have to simplify both sides. Yeah? So first we find the product of 5 and 9, which is 45, good, equals. Now, on the right side, we have to get rid of parentheses. How? By using distributive property of multiplication over addition. So we multiply 6 by 7n and 6 by 9. So you're going to have 6 times 7 is 42. N plus 6 times 9 equals 45. Hold on, is a small mistake here, is 54. Next, we start solving for n. Now, how we solve for n? By getting rid of 54 first. So, how we get rid of 54? By subtracting 54 on both sides. So, if we subtract these numbers, you're going to get negative 9, yeah, equals 42 n. Good. Next, we solve for n by dividing by 42 both sides. So, this fraction would be negative, yeah? So, we put negative in front of the fraction, and we try to simplify. What could be the common factor? I think could be 3, yeah? So, if you divide 9 by 3, you get 3. If you divide 42 by 3, you get 14. Yeah? These two divide out, so you're going to have negative 3 over 14 equals n, or n equals negative 3 over 14. Good. And the last example, we do the same, yeah? So we cross multiply. So we multiply 4 by 6 and 9 by r minus 3. So 4 times 6 and then 9 times. Now, to make sure you multiply these numbers correctly, we have to use again a parenthesis, yeah? R minus 3. Good. What's next? We make these two cross products equal. And then we simplify both sides and solve for r. So, first, we find the product of 4 and 6 would be 24, right? 4 times 6 equals 24. Then, we use again the distributive property of multiplication over subtraction this time. We distribute. So, 9 times r would be 9r. 9 times negative 3 would be negative 27. Next, we get rid of 27. We add 27 on both sides. And we get 51 here equals 9r. These two cancel out. And then we divide by 9 to get r. We divide by 9, both sides. Yeah? So you're going to get 51 over 9 equals, these two divide out, r. Or r equals 51 over 9. So that's the value of r. As you can see, you cannot divide, simplify the fraction. We leave as it is, or you simply estimate the quotient. That is all we have for today. We'll see next time with other topic. Thank you for watching my video.